as it is. One of the biggest conversations that has dominated both social and traditional media conversations in the past about 2 months has been the finance minister's indication that the public payroll is full and that young persons should defer to entrepreneurship as opposed to seeking employment, especially in the public sector. This proposition of the finance minister has been greeted with a lot of concerns expressed by persons of all ages, but especially the youth, citing issues such as the non-existence of financing, skills inadequacy, lack of managerial experience, lack of proper access to markets, etc. In what appears as a response, the 2022 budget is touted by the government as one that has a lot of youth-focused interventions. This evening, we spent time to probe these interventions, the concepts behind them, the targeted beneficiaries, the execution mechanisms, as well as the sustainability plans. It is Candid Voice on Asase Radio 99.5 MHz in Accra, Asase Radio 98.5 MHz in Kumasi, 123 FM 99.7 MHz in Tamale, and also on Asase Radio 99.5 on Facebook. This is our show this evening. My name is Benjamin Ofeado, and I welcome you to the show. And joining us this evening to have this conversation, that which we've christened the Ajinkwa budget, what salvation is in it for the youth? We have the Deputy Minister for Information of the Republic, Fatimatu Abubakar. She has made time this evening to join us in the studios right here. That is the Kweku Sechiadu studio here in Asase Radio in Cantonment. Fatimatu, welcome to the show.
Thank you and good evening.
Good evening. And also joining us this evening is the Director of Communications as well as ICT for the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program, that is the NEIP, Joseph Osei Opong Brinya. Joseph, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Yes, and this show, as I did indicate, is live on Asase Radio 99.5 in Accra, Asase Radio 98.5 in Kumasi, 123 FM on 99.7 in Tamale, and we're also online on asasiradio.com. And you'd also catch us on Facebook. You get a live video footages on Facebook at Asasi Radio 99.5. Would want to go straight into the conversation this evening, and would want to start with you, Deputy Minister. So, this budget, from the communications that have gone around so far, after the reading on Wednesday by the Finance Minister, there's been the indication that this particular budget pays a lot of attention to the youth. What are captured in this particular budget that makes it so youth focused as far as your indication is concerned?
Okay, thank you. And once again, good evening to you, my co-panelists, and our cherished listeners, your listeners who have joined us on Asase 99.5 FM this evening. Before I go to the specifics in terms of what was captured in the budget for the youth, I have to state a preamble of where we've come from. And the facts show that if you look at the Ghanaian population, about 3/4 of our population is below the age of 35. So based on that context, you can confidently and comfortably say that majority of the Ghanaian population is young. And we talk about children and then the youth. So in that context too, what you will be looking at is that majority of that population will be looking at matters bordering on education and then job creation. But when you come to the youth, then the priority definitely is job creation. And we have also come at a time where Ghana, under the past regime, had to go to the IMF for policy credibility and sustainability, to the extent that we had to bear the brunt of that IMF conditionality of ensuring that there is net freeze on public sector employment. When there is net freeze on public sector employment, there is a cross-section of the youth who are really affected, and that has to do with young graduates, youth who have just completed the universities, polytechnics, teacher training colleges, nurses training colleges, among others. And these are people who have the certificates and want to apply those knowledge and their energy towards, nation building, but they never get the opportunity. Against that background, you would realize that the Ghana Living Standard Survey that came up in 2015 shows that the youth employment situation in Ghana in terms of percentage stood at 16.9%. And that is huge. It means if you take maybe every 10 young people, about 2 of them were sleeping at home, and maybe the 8 may be employed or underemployed. So because of that situation, government's focus really was to put the young people of this country to work and also make sure they get the benefit of working experience and contributing their quota to nation building. And that is why, as soon as President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo took over as the president of the Republic, he said we had to do something drastic as bringing a program that will kind of push a lot of young graduates into the formal sector or the formal private sector through the introduction of NAPCO. And for its first year, NAPCO took about 100,000 trainees. These 100,000 trainees were trained in various areas: revenue mobilization, teaching, non-teaching programs, entrepreneurship, working at some of the district assemblies, working with our environment agencies, among others. And government had to commit about 70 million Ghana cedis every month to pay them, about 840 million every year to pay them. But that wasn't enough because we still have a lot of young people in the house. So when Ghana and this current administration got the opportunity to leave the IMF program, the most important thing was to populate the public sector. That is why they had to give clearance for the recruitment of teachers and non-teaching staff under GES, amounting to about some 74,000 people. And under Ghana Health Services, doctors, nurses, pharmacists, and the likes, about some 65,000 people. The National Identification Authority, some 35,000 people. And also for those who are not graduates, maybe JHS leavers, SHS leavers, under the YEA program, some 185,000 people. But even that, we still had a lot of young people in the house. That is to tell you that the issue of youth unemployment in Ghana was very serious. Some people said it was a ticking time bomb because our population is really young. And after all that intervention, you realize that we have populated the public sector. We have tried some other interventions to make sure we access the private sector through the government coordinated program of One District, One Factory, but which is also private sector led, to make sure that as we speak, we have some 106 projects or factories that are completed and operational across the country, also employing people. Still, we have some backlog of people who do not have jobs. So the focus really, when it comes to this budget, is to make sure we are able to put people to work, whether they get opportunities in the formal sector or they do not get opportunities in the formal sector. And that is why government is introducing the YouStart program. Already, the government had made some commitments in terms of entrepreneurship, giving young people training and also giving them funds to start their own businesses for those who are interested in going to entrepreneurship. And we introduced the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program, and also we activated the NBSSI, which is now Ghana Enterprises Agency, under the Ministry of Trade, to also take up the responsibility of training a lot of people and giving them the skills and also the resources for them to start their own businesses. As it stands now, the Ghana Living Standard Survey, which came up in 2019, showed that youth unemployment in Ghana has dropped from that 16.9% to 12.6%. So we are making progress. We are making progress, but we still have a lot to do. So this issue about funding young businesses, funding startups, training startups, is something that, with the benefit of a ready market in terms of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, with the benefit of all these agencies that we have empowered, which can give the young people technical support, among others, we can actually scale up if government makes some form of commitment in terms of funding. So what we currently have is the fact that government has shown that in 2022, when the budget which has been presented in Parliament is approved, they are going to commit as much as 10 billion Ghana cedis to the program of YouStart, which is more or less a support system for startups at the district level, at the regional level, at the national level.
You said 10 billion for the year or for the rest of the tenure of this particular administration?
The budget is for a budget year.
Yes.
That is also to say that if there is a need to continue the program in subsequent budgets, there has to be provisions made if we need to continue the program if it's successful. But the issue is that we have a lot of young talents who are into IT, who are into manufacturing, who want to go into production, who wants to go into agro processing, who want to go agriculture proper, but the issue is that they don't have capital. And if people don't have capital, sometimes you wouldn't appreciate what they can do with some resources.
Okay.
And it's not like government is giving only the funds to people, take and go and spend, and then in 3 years we will come and say, Sikano Ashi.
Okay.
But to ensure that they are taken through some form of training, financial management, how to file their taxes, access, self-assessment, filing, getting their e-tax certificate, being compliant in terms of the Ghana Standards Authority and Food and Drugs Authority where it applies, and making sure the businesses that are set up are actually sustainable.
Okay, so that sounds all nice and good, and I mean you've given us context where we were and where we are now, indication of some progress, yet a lot more to be done. Let me come to you, Joseph. So she spoke about the YouStart, and I would want us to start with that specific intervention. We can talk about this. We'll come back to NAPCO. YouStart early on was announced to be UBank, and that was in the previous budget. Now we are talking YouStart, and we are hearing a bit more beyond just the provision of funds. Also, there has been the mention of a certain 1 billion, and in other fora we've heard 10 billion. Really, break this YouStart program down for us. Let's get a full appreciation of it. Who are the intended beneficiaries, and what is the mechanism by way of execution that is going to be?
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you to your listeners too. Before I go into that, let me tell you what happened, why we are at where we are now. You know, the theme for this budget is building a sustainable entrepreneur and physical consolidation and job creation. Building an entrepreneurial nation. Yeah. And we started somewhere in 2017 when the president established the National Entrepreneurship and Innovations Program. Our core mandate is to support businesses to grow, new ones to emerge, and existing ones to thrive. And that is what we've been doing since 2017. We have programs like the Students Entrepreneurship Initiative, where we started from the senior high schools and the tertiary institutions, trying to take them through entrepreneurship so that they can think of entrepreneurship, and before they finish school, they have an idea as to if they want to go into entrepreneurship, they have an idea of any business they want to set up. Then we came with the Presidential Business Support Program, where we fund youth businesses from 10,000 to 100,000 Ghana cedis. Then we have a tax exemption for youth-owned businesses from 18 to 35 years. If you own a business, you can come to us and we'll give you tax exemption for 5 years. We have a program where people can do national service in their own company instead of doing national service somewhere. When you finish school, you can apply through NEIP, then you do national service in your own company so that you don't have to waste the 1 year doing national service somewhere, but you do it in your own company, developing your company.
As an entrepreneur.
As an entrepreneur. That's why we started. And then we have the presidential pitch where people can, before the president of Ghana, you tell the president what you do, how you do it, and if you get funding, where you will be. Then some of you will be selected and be funded. And in all our programs, the president normally adds his 1 month salary to the winners of this program. And we've had one in every year. We have 3 of these programs. We have the greenhouse project located in the Wenya. We have 75 domes in the Wenya, which is the largest greenhouse estate in West Africa. So this where we started from, building the ecosystem, bringing us to where we are now with the YouStart. Now, let me come to the YouStart. The YouStart is a program basically to support entrepreneurs, businesses to grow, new ones to emerge, and the existing ones to also thrive. And this program was designed with us, that's the National Entrepreneurship and Innovations Program and the Ghana Enterprise Agency. And the program is to support people with funding. Now, not only funding, normally when I'm talking about entrepreneurship, normally I want to talk about training. So the program is about training, mentoring, business funding, and also we have business advisory services for people who want to go into entrepreneurship. It starts from the schools. Now, graduates who want to go into entrepreneurship can access funding from 10,000 to 100,000 Ghana cedis through the YouStart program, which is about to take place.
10,000 to 100,000.
10,000 to 100,000.
Okay.
But already we have the Presidential Business Support Program. So it will be an extension of the Presidential Business Support Program, where people were accessing 10,000 to 100,000 Ghana cedis since 2017. There's a lot going on.
So let me get clarity on this. So the Presidential Support Program is going away and it's going to become YouStart. Just that is going to be extended in terms of the amount available.
Okay, the YouStart now is replacing the Youth Bank.
Mm-hmm.
That is, it's like a kind of a revolving fund where we can all access funding from to give to these entrepreneurs. So GEA goes there to the YouStart, NEIP goes to the YouStart, other agencies like the Youth in Agriculture, they also go to the YouStart for funding.
Who will be administering the YouStart?
Yeah, the YouStart will be, managed by the Ministry of Finance, and initially
through which agency?
Initially, it was supposed to be a bank, youth bank, but there are some regulatory things you need to follow before you can have that bank established. So that's why they turn into the YouStart. And the YouStart is just a fund which will be managed by the Ministry of Finance, and all these agencies and these organizations goes to that fund, take some money from it, and give it to these young entrepreneurs who are, who have their business and they need funding.
The reason I'm asking this is, nobody typically, no young person will walk up to the Ministry of Finance for funds. And that's why I'm asking specifically which agency, because I know when UBank was mentioned the first time, the Venture Capital Trust Fund was indicated to be the administrators. Is that going to be the case?
No. Now it's for the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program, then Ghana Enterprise Agency.
So GEA and NEIP are going to be the administrators of the YouStart?
Yes, please.
Yes. Okay.
So we have programs for those who are in school. Now, we have the Students Entrepreneurship Initiative, where we are training students in school so that they have that entrepreneurial mindset before they leave school. The annual ritual or maybe the daily things we do is people finish school and they are now looking for jobs, and the jobs are no more. We have existing jobs, but they are not enough for these people. So we started from the schools. These people should have that mindset. Okay, not all want to go into entrepreneurship or business. Some will want to have some formal employment, but we want a chunk of them to go into entrepreneurship so that they can establish businesses and employ others instead of always looking for jobs. So when you finish school and you have a business idea, when you have gone through our Students Entrepreneurship Initiative back at school and you need funding, that's where you come to the YouStart. You can access from 50,000 to 400,000 Ghana cedis. If you are an existing business that need to scale up, if you are also a graduate who want to start your own business, you come to us from 10,000 to 100,000. And we have the district level soft loans where people in the district, we have a lot of people in our villages and our towns who some people even need just 2,000 Ghana cedis to start a mobile money business. Some need 1,000 Ghana cedis to start something on their own. And this YouStart is going to tackle all these things. When you look at graduates who come out of school, those who are already in school, and those who are not in school, but are in our rural areas and our urban areas who want to do something for themselves. And maybe they have a business plan, they have the idea. It's not just you move in and take the money and you go and do whatever you want to do with it. You first start with training, business advisory services and support. Then we come to mentoring before these monies are released to these people to do whatever they want to do.
Let's get clarity here. So before you get any source of funding, you need to go through a certain program of
Training.
Mentorship of sorts.
Yes.
So till you are done with that, you are not going to have access to the money.
No,
that is it.
You are not going to have access to
How about those who are having existing companies, who are running their companies, but need to upskill and so need just some additional financing? Do they need to necessarily go through this entire orientation program?
Okay. When we were doing our training across the country, what we observed was that there were people who had their own businesses who came to our training. Then after the training, they came back to us and told us, I thought my problem was funding. But after going through the training, going through the business advisory support and the mentoring, I've realized that the problem I have is not about money. Whatever small thing I have, I can manage it. My problem was about book management. My problem was about the accounting and other things. I didn't have the right people to do this thing for me. So whoever comes to us, no matter your level, no matter your state of business, you still have to go through some kind of business advisory support for us to diagnose, understand your problem, because your problem might not be money. Your problem might be something you are not doing right. So that's why normally when we talk about entrepreneurship, I first want to talk about training, business advisory services before funding. Because if you don't do all these things and you give money to people, they will go and misuse the money and come back to you. So at any stage that you are, when you approach us, you have to look at your problem. We have experts who diagnose your problems and understand that your problem is about money. If it's not, then we'll give you that business advisory services. Then we'll support you with managing the business before. If there's funding that we have to give to you, we will give it to you. So the YouStart is not just going to be releasing money out to people.
Okay.
We want to build people. We just don't want to release money. We'll build you so that you can be very sustainable. You can be very strong to withstand any shock. When COVID came in, a lot of people lost their job. A lot of companies emerge out of this turbulence. It tells you how prepared they were to face challenges. And that is why we've been doing since 2017, trying to build people, trying to train them before we come in with funding. Because if you say funding, now, if you talk about entrepreneurship, what people say out there, we don't have money. Have you given money to us to go into entrepreneurship? There's no money anywhere. No. When you want to become an entrepreneur, when you want to be an entrepreneur, you don't think of money first. You think about acquiring the skills, how to manage your business before the money.
I think that point has been made very clearly. So you're going to be diagnosing, providing training and support. Then, if necessary, you provide funding.
Yes.
And what I'm hearing you is the maximum cap we are looking at here is 100,000 Ghana cedis.
Yes.
So
100,000 for new businesses.
New businesses.
The existing ones is from 50,000 to 400,000 Ghana cedis.
up to 400,000 Ghana cedis. Okay. I'm looking at some of the key elements which were captured in the budget, and there's a target of about 1 million jobs being created out of this particular program. And because you are sitting at NEIP, that's why I'm asking you a lot of these questions. Some of the key products that I see for under the YouStart: soft loans, capital loans, a standardized loan package, learning programs, enterprise endowment funds, access to markets. How are you going to provide these young persons real access to markets?
Right. Okay. We have one program at our place known as the EMOR, where entrepreneurs or people who have their own business are on that platform. At that platform, you showcase whatever you have, whatever you do, whatever business or services that you provide. And we have other people who also come on that platform. Now, during our training, something happened where, in Eastern region, a man came in, he was farming pepper, chili pepper and others. So at the program, when we started the training, he told us about his problems and his challenges, and we realized that it's not about money. Now we were able to link this person to a market in Accra, something that he was selling like 200 Ghana cedis around his vicinity. He was selling like 300 cedis in Accra here. So it's not just about releasing money. We want to create that market for them. We want to create a platform where they can go showcase whatever they do there. People come in and also patronize their services. We like maybe we are in Kumasi and we know people who are doing maize farming. You get to Upper East, somebody is doing piggery. The person need maize. You connect that person to the other who is also doing piggery that need maize. So this is the kind of market we want to create. Digital marketing, we want to do online, social media, and others to introduce them. That will happen during the training. People are producing, people are doing a whole lot, but how to market whatever they do is a problem in this country. And we have a platform where we can have all these people to somehow share ideas, tell each other what they do, and we have people coming in for their service.
Do you have that platform already existing?
Yes, we have that platform already.
What's the link to that particular platform?
EMOR. It's linked to our website, www.neip.gov.gh. It's also on Facebook. The website is linked to our.
So it's a portal on your website?
Yes, it's a portal on our website.
Which is EMOR. So when we go to www.neip.gov.gh, we can access that.
And also, apart from that platform that we use, we also interlink people. When you come to our place, maybe you are producing something nobody is buying. You can walk to our office at any time and tell us this the things that you are producing. Now, why even has a portal where they are trying to link all people into job skills on that platform, that even if I need a plumber, I know when I go to YE's platform, there's a plumber there who is very credible, not those outside that we might not trust. So government is doing a lot. We are creating the enabling environment for businesses to grow, thrive, and new ones to emerge.
Let me ask you this, maybe last one before I come to Fatima, because the YouStart is significantly within your remit, as you indicate. Up to about 400,000 Ghana cedis. That looks big. But for already existing companies, especially when you are seeking to be creating that number of jobs, I mean, there are certain existing companies that can scale in ways that can absorb so many other persons that even 100 new businesses may not be able to do. A typical example, Farmerline is doing a lot within the agric ecosystem, and are raising funds, going around raising huge amounts in excess of the 400,000 that you are talking about. What kind of interventions do you have in place for businesses that are of the nature of, big tech companies, in Silicon Valley, for instance, of that nature in this country, to upskill, to absorb a whole lot more persons in excess of that 400,000 that you are talking about?
Okay. We have some companies in this country, as you mentioned. That's why we have the NEIP, we have the GEA. Now, let me tell you the plan. NEIP starts with the training, mentoring, and other things, and funding. Then GEA takes you from that level, develop you to an SME level. Then GIPC takes over. So we are interlinked. Business of this nature, when maybe if our 400,000 is not enough for you, GEA is there to extend your support that with a bigger amount. GIPC is there to link you up to external investors to come and help you. So it's a plan that we've done that is systematically done from training, funding. You go to SME level, GE takes you through another level to GIPC when you need that huge investment. Government cannot provide huge investment like other investors outside the country who can also come in to support. So we take you to some level. We don't just leave you there. We help you through GE and GIPC for you to get investors to also, scale up. But what government can do at this level is from 100,000 to 400,000 Ghana, and that might not be enough. But when you go to GE, they can also provide huge amount of money. When you go to GIPC, they can link you to investors who can come in to somehow help you scale up to a bigger level.
Okay, Fatimatu, and he's mentioned GA, YEA, NEIP, all of those. There have been indications that these are various agencies that seem to be performing similar roles. Is there not reason to integrate all of them under a single umbrella to do some of these things? Because really, NEIP is working. Youth Employment Agency is still dealing with the employment space. There is now GEA, which is doing something of a similar sort, maybe at a different scale. Is there not a reason to amalgamate them under a single umbrella?
Okay, Benjamin. First of all, they all have specific targets. For instance, in terms of deployment or resourcing individuals and institutions, you would realize that when GEA was NBSSI, when there are market fires, they attend to that together with Maslock, sometimes alone. They are high on the informal sector. And when they were releasing the COVID funds, rural areas, they targeted that. Before then, they were recruiting and training Kayayes for them to learn new skills to go into other sectors rather than being headquarters. You look at the programs that they have at the mining areas when they want to introduce alternative livelihood program. They have a set of skills that address those issues. When you come to NEIP, you realize that it is not exactly the same. They give funding, but they are not giving funding to, for instance, people who will not get any training but come for some stipend or some small monies which may not require so much supervision. They do regional training. To the best of my knowledge, I knew someone who was a beneficiary, and she was recruited in the Brown and Hafo region at the time. now Bono region, and she had to do training there, qualify, then come here for further training. She had to bring evidence of business registration and a whole lot of documents, which appear to me to be more sophisticated than what was required by the NVSSI, now GEA, in terms of disbursement. And if you look at the youth employment program, sometimes it's not necessarily for entrepreneurs, but people you can take, for instance, some are more or less like casual workers, youth in sanitation model. So in terms of implementation, if you take a critical look, you would realize that they have all specialized in different areas and they are not doing the same thing. So based on the need in the instance, for instance, if it has to do with graduates or maybe students, then you will be looking more towards NEIP and not the other alternatives. So it is a whole lot of things to address at a go, but they are not mutually exclusive. So you have to find a way to get all of them working at the same time so that we will get all the results within the shortest possible time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, let me come in. And one thing is, we face this question a lot. You know, NEIP does training, business mentorship, and advisory services. I think when you go to Maslock, they don't do that. When you go to GA, they might not be doing that. So we take them from the onset, where the idea stage, where they have the idea and they want to put it into business. We train you and take you through all this. And when we are done, that's where GA also take you from there, help you with anything that you need so that you can be developed into an SME. So it's like there is a plan that starts from the idea stage to where you grow and become an SME. So we do different things at different levels.
Okay. The show is Candid Voice, and we are live on Asas Radio 99.5 in Accra, 98.5 also Asas Radio in Kumasi, and on 123 FM on 99.7 in Tamale. We are live also on Facebook for those of you watching, and we are seeing a number of your comments coming in. We'll be reading a few of them in a bit, but we want to go for a short commercial break. When we're back, we'll be focusing a bit more on NAPCO. We'll be looking at NAPCO, we'll be looking at other interventions, and we'll be looking at how to finance these particular interventions. What is the government's plan, and how do they make them sustainable? Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this short commercial break.
I nearly gave up on driving out of frustration. What hadn't I done? Purging, replacing electrical parts, changing my fuel pump, and still the engine noise in my car won't stop. Then I met this guy who said I should try Goil Fuel. By the way, my name is Thomas, but I did try Goil Super XP Ron 95. Then
Goil stocks only higher grade fuels, further enriched with XP3 multifunctional enhancer, more efficient, eco-friendly, and at no extra cost. Available at every Goil station. Ajibebia.
now my car is renewed. Yankonkwa.
Goil Super XP Ron 95 and Diesel XP, higher grade fuels, excellent for modern engines and all vehicles. Goil, good energy. Yeah, dim.
Ayen some baby and in the four afa abe for kwanso. Din the entity have a money nuaba afrafra aye. Ayen some baby a day na ne chia no. New hamne ne dem money demusunko. I will be memo. Ah, origin. Woman ya kite it. We can know what the say. Ufin Miani Miabemwampa. Origin. Didn't say for roots. Herbs and fruits will come. No answer. One too many by winning feed watry. Says happen for no.
A judge and cratway. FD a jet to say.
You're welcome back to Candid Voice on Asasi Radio. And Enterprise has the newest kid on the block, and her name is Babs, and she's from Enterprise, and she's your new contact for insurance, pensions, funeral, and property solutions from the Enterprise Group. You can easily chat with Babs on the Enterprise Advantage app, the Enterprise website, and also on WhatsApp number 055 400 1924. And Babs is always available and willing to help you find solutions to your big dreams. Come on now and dream big with us. Enterprise, your advantage. And today we are talking the Ajinkwa budget, and we are asking, what salvation is in it for the youth? And joining us in the studio to have this conversation is the Deputy Minister for Information, in the person of Honorable Fatimatu Abubakar. Also joining us is the Director of Communications and ICT with the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program, Joseph Osei Opongbrenya. And so far, we've been looking significantly at the YouStart program. Would want to, Fatimatu, you wanted to make a quick intervention before we went on the break on the access to markets. Yes.
For those who are into agro-processing or agro-business, we have a whole program that is targeted at marketing a lot of agricultural produce, especially cereals. You remember that quite recently there was a collaboration between the National Food and Buffer Stock Company, NAFCO, and also the Special Development Initiatives Ministry, now a secretariat under the Office of the President, to start the One District, One Warehouse program, where already they have about 21 warehouses in place. What they do is that the Ghana Commodity Exchange, like the Ghana Stock Exchange, trade cereals and other agro produce, but not money, not exchange.
Of course.
Trading.
So like maize, among other things.
Among other things. So what they do is to provide access to markets and access to funding and access to storage. So that, for instance, if I have a maize farm and I cultivate the maize, I don't have to worry about going to Makola Market or Carnation Market to look for buyers and then transport and then look at storage and whether the goods will perish or not. You can go online, go to their portal, express interest, or go to any nearby warehouse and drop your produce there. They will check the level of moisture, the quality, and then make an offer. Whether they have a buyer or not, they are going to take the produce and give you a check to go for your payment and go. They will take care of.
So you go for your payment from where?
From the warehouse where you drop the produce.
Okay.
They will pay you before they even go ahead to look for markets. So upon assessment of your products, then they will take it. And then they will store it. And then they will just give you your money and take care of your funding issues, because if they are not bought, you will lose money. Take care of the storage issue because you don't have a place to put your products. And take care of the market issue because of market uncertainties. So now with the Ghana Commodity Exchange, they are targeting about 300,000 farmers. They already have 35,000 farmers thereabouts.
And it's mainly for cereals?
No, that is where they've started from. It's for all commodities, but for starters, now they do rice, maize, among other things.
Because the real perishable items are not the cereals. You tend to have the issue of tomatoes, the chili, among other things.
I'm coming to that. So they are taking care of it. It's based on the market demands. That's why they are taking care of the cereals first. Because as we speak, we also have the One District, One Factory project in place, whereby we have a watermelon processing factory in Wale Wale. We have a tomato processing factory in Brekum, we have poultry, we have other processing factories all across the country. We have Casa de Ropa dealing with potatoes. We have the Kumfi pineapple factory dealing with pineapples, among others. And even before then, we had the Blue Skies that was taking the mangoes and other fruits. So those ones are actually currently taken care of. When you cultivate, the market is there. But with respect to the cereals, now Ghana Commodity Exchange has taken up that responsibility to deal with the issues of market, funding, and storage for starters.
As well as post-harvest losses, I suppose. Let's talk about NAPCO. So NAPCO, as you did indicate in its first year, engaged about 100,000 persons. And this year was supposed to be the exit year for those persons. There was the initial announcement around they exiting because room needs to be created for the next batch. Is it the case that NAPCO is going to be having a 3-year cycle of recruitment, or every year we are going to have a certain cohort that is going to be coming in and ending in 3 years?
Okay, let me start by saying the intention, the basis for setting up NAPCO was not to make it like a permanent job or permanent arrangement kind of situation. But the fact that we had this unemployed graduate association, net freeze on public sector employment, people were just wasting away in the house. So the idea was like, why not we get a stopgap measure which will keep these people in between the periods of sleeping and job searches whilst we look for permanent arrangements for them. So it was upon that basis that the NAPCO program was introduced to take the first cohort of 100,000 people. And these 100,000 people were spread across. And they were given orientation to the effect that it is a 3-year program. And after that 3-year, we are looking at 3 possible exits. Whether you have a permanent job, whether we help you with funding to be an entrepreneur, or whether you want to do further studies. So those were the 3 exit plans that were introduced by government, with which the trainees agreed and signed up to the program. Now the 3 years for the first cohort has come to an end. And upon the end of the 3 years, we realized that 33,000 of them have already gained permanent employment. So
how many of them?
33,000 are already permanently engaged.
So we have about 67,000.
Leaving 67,000 still on the program. But as promised, because the exit plan is not to send them back to the house to join the queue again to job hunt. People were panicking already. There were all sorts of false communication out there that they are sacking them from the various institutions that they were working for. But the NAPCO Secretariat, led by Dr. Anyas, issued a communication to the effect that they are not supposed to go home. They are supposed to be at post until that promised exit plan is fully executed. So there is actually an arrangement to keep them at post to work until such a time in course of next year where government exit plan, which I wouldn't want to disclose everything because I don't want to take the wind out of the sails.
No, but you could give us some hints. There are a lot of young people who are listening on the NAPCO program who've been looking forward to hearing something around what this whole exit plan is going to be for them. Any snippets of what they are likely to be?
I already hinted that it encompasses jobs, it encompasses funding for entrepreneurship programs, and also further studies. That they are already aware. It's not a new thing that I'm going to mention.
So 3 things.
But either of them will come to pass. And until such a time that government has honored that promise. They are still on the program.
So you are saying for certain that nobody of the 100 persons is going to be sent home packing, like that?
Not at all. Not at all. That won't happen.
Okay.
And that is not the plan. And that is why, although the program has ended, but they are not home until such a time that the exit plan is rolled out. Then a new cohort will be engaged or will be recruited to be on the NAPCO program.
Okay, so Ishmael Irep Navrongo Shaker sent in a comment, and he's directed towards you, Mr. Joseph Osei Opombrinya. It says, kindly touch on the difficulty in registering your business, because business certification and tax clearance for a new business is a very difficult thing to acquire, and he's not sure support would come their way if those documents are not in place.
Okay. Our support is not, as I mentioned, it's not just funding. If you are an existing business, we link you to FDA, Ghana Standard Authority, and other regulatory bodies. If you come through us, you avoid that bureaucracies where you have to go here, here, and here. We just go straight and you get your document. So we do a lot. We link entrepreneurs and businesses to these agencies, and before you come, make sure that you have all your documents ready, so that when we go in, you can get all these things ready at a limited time. You know, people have been complaining. They go to FDA, they go to Ghana Standard Authority, they go here, and the bureaucracy go and come. Somebody want to do this before this and other things. But when you come through us, it's part of our mandate. That's what we do. So I want to advise the youth, those who are already into business, come to our office. Tell us you need this certification. It's taking too long. We will go in and we'll make sure that everything you have is set, so that we'll get this certification.
So you can provide that support in terms of business registration, the certification, with tax, among other things.
That's what we do. That's what it's part of our mandate, the things we do. Then a lot of people have come through us, even with tax exemptions. We'll go to GRA, we'll get tax exemption for you for 5 years. You come to us, maybe you need some certification from Ghana Standard Authority. You come through us, we'll go with you to avoid these bureaucracy and other things, so that you get things in time.
So if you're listening or watching and you have a business that you need clearance, I mean, all of these administrative clearances, you may want to talk to the NEIP. Mr. Opong Brenya is indicating to us that they are in a place to help you to go through all of those clearances. SNIT, GRA, Registrar General, all of the
when you come to us, we'll help you throughout.
All right. Matu, let's talk about the issue of legal education. In the budget, in terms of projections, about 800 persons are captured as expected to be admitted into the Ghana School of Law. And with all of these conversations around legal education and a certain deliberate attempt to curtail the number of people who have access to legal education, and I'm sure a lot of law students are watching and listening to the program right now. Is this not deterministic to capture in the budget that you're expecting about 800 persons to be admitted into the Ghana School of Law, especially in a situation where this particular year you have in excess of about 1,200 or even more being admitted after the capturing of the 499? Is this not deterministic, which feeds into the perception that there's a deliberate attempt to curtail the people who have access to professional legal education?
Ben, first of all, for the purpose of planning, let me state that some provision of a sort ought to be made. I am not privy to the kind of arrangement or conversation or the research that went into the decision of the 800. But that is also to say that over the years, not all those who apply to write the entrance exams pass. I think for the 2019 cohorts, among over 2,000 applicants, only 128% passed and got above 50%. For my cohort, we were somewhere around 490.
No, but Fati, let's look at this situation. Last year, about 1,000 and a little bit more got access. Now you have in excess of 1,200. All things being equal. And now, we have even more faculties. The expectation is that it's going to be growing. So if you are going back in terms of your budgeting, then it's either of two things. Either you are not considering the right variables in your budgeting, or you have a certain deliberate attempt to curtail the admissions.
I don't think there is a deliberate attempt to curtail the admission, but what I'm saying is that whether the over-project or under-project, some provisions ought to be made. And I don't know what actually went into making that kind of provision. But the fact is that our legal system, our legal education is evolving, it's changing. It has moved from one faculty to over 20 faculties. One campus at the professional level to 3 campuses across the country. And as mentioned, the AG also mentioned, they are looking into even opening up and looking at other campuses. So it will get to a time that based on the demand, you can't look the other way. Of course, provisions would have to be made. So I don't think there is a deliberate attempt to curtail, but change is difficult sometimes. And you have to, take into consideration a whole lot of things. But my belief is that we need a lot of lawyers in this country. I have been to a lot of district courts where people lack representation, not because they can't afford, but they don't even know where to even find the lawyers. They are all concentrated in Accra, Kumasi, and a few of the capitals. So if there is that kind of arrangement to open up legal education in Ghana, I am all for it. But as it stands now, I think for the purpose of budgeting, you have to make provisions, and that should be based on, some informed research or advice from those who are mandated to do so by law.
For the benefit of those who don't know some of the specific interventions by the government to expand professional legal education, just in a matter of 2 minutes, talk us through what are some of the specific interventions by the government through the General Legal Council to expand professional legal education?
By statutes, by the Legal Professions Act, the people that are mandated to take decisions on legal education, it's not necessarily the government, but the General Legal Council, without any interference of a sort, except for the fact that the same statutes also make provisions for the Attorney General to advise the General Legal Council and the General Legal Council to the Board of Legal Education to some extent. So there are some inputs here and there, but generally, unless there are statutory amendments or such a time that there is a new regime in terms of law, government cannot forcibly take the whole decision-making from the General Legal Council into that kind of executive framework that, okay, we have the money to build 100 schools, so we are opening up this until such a time that advice or that arrangement is made by the General Legal Council, because it's a creation of statute. So I have heard that some people even want to introduce private members bill so that there will be some amendments to the Legal Professions Act. Until such a time that the issue about legality is addressed, it will be difficult to just jump all those frameworks and then come up to make a political announcement.
But there's also
the executive that this is what we want and this is what we are going
But
to.
there's the law village, which is being constructed. I thought that was part of the interventions to expand legal education.
When the General Legal Council takes the decision and it has to do with funding, then of course through the Attorney General they can appeal to government to provide the bursaries. But that decision, first of all, per law, is within their remit.
Let me give you another 2 minutes to talk about 1D, 1F, planting for food and jobs, still within the remit of employment creation. We know the government has had a number of interventions in that regard. What is the plan moving into the next budget cycle in terms of expansion of the employment opportunities and access for young people when it comes to employment generally?
You know, as promised, the government under the leadership of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo recognize the fact that we need to move from a Gajisbarian economy to an economy that adds value to its natural resources before exporting them. It is on that basis that the president initiated the One District, One Factory policy. Because he wants us to get to such a point where in every district you will have a factory, mainly on agri-processing, so that they can deal with some of the produce, post-harvest losses, and other things, challenges that will be confronting the districts in terms of value addition. And so far, as I mentioned, 106 of the factories are already operational.
How many do you intend to add for this year?
150 are at various levels of completion. In fact, just before the Honorable Finance Minister read the budget, I knew and had a list of 104 factories that were operational. The fact that he mentioned 106 in the budget should tell you that day in and day out, more factories are being
brought on stream. Okay, because of time.
There are 20 other factories that are under mobilization. The import is that these factories will cut the losses in the communities, but they will deal with this issue of rural urban migration by making use of their resources, including human resources.
I think that the thinking behind it is very clear and understood. How many more are you adding on in the 2022 budget cycle?
So far, I believe if the 150 comes on stream, because it is private, although it is coordinated by government, mind you, these are not factories that the government will take funds and government will put it together, but the private sector. So it is driven by application by members from the general public. If you bring your application that I have this business plan, I have this equipment, or I have this kind of network outside the country that wants to come and establish this factory, then it has to be vetted by the One District, One Factory to make a determination.
I think that process is also understood.
Exactly.
What is, by way of projection, with all the applications that have come through, what is your projected add-ons in terms of additional employment that is to be created from the 1D, 1F program going into the 2022 budget cycle?
You know, already they've created over 150,000 direct and indirect employment. And we say direct and indirect employment because, for instance, if you take the Kumfi factory, they may have not more than 1,000 direct employees. But look at those who sell the products on the market. Look at the casual workers who carry the produce from the farm to the factory. So it's a whole value chain that has been projected. So the more streams of factories coming on board, the more people that will be engaged, and then we'll update on those figures in terms of statistics.
So because of our time, a lot of interventions both of you have mentioned, and I'll stay with you, Fatih, before I come to him. How does the government intend to finance all of these ones?
Okay. Funding, so far, if you look at if it has to do with the 1D, 1F, it has to do with a public-private partnership or private-public partnership. You know, the 1D, 1F, government is offering funds through going through the Exim Bank and ADB and other financial partners to fund these businesses. There are some other interventions like the YEA program that will have to come from GOG or the consolidated.
How's the government financing the YouStart?
It's from government. It's our money. It's
Which specific, money. For instance, education financing, we know is coming from the Get Fund loan, the free SHS, we know that there's some funds coming from the petroleum revenue. For YouStart specifically,
it's from government. It's an allocation from our consolidated fund. It's an allocation from.
There has been the indication of the e-levy that has been planned in terms of execution. Is this one of the key sources for the YouStart program?
The e-levy, the projected revenue, is somewhere about some 6 billion Ghana cedis. That projected revenue. Okay, there are some people who have of the school of thought that amount should not go directly into the consolidated fund. It should be a separate funding and be dedicated to some specific projects. But to the best of my knowledge, right now, it is supposed to go into the consolidated fund. So the issue is that the projected revenue can help us in terms of job creation and then infrastructure like road infrastructure. We are doing Agenda 111 hospitals. We have a lot of programs coming up which we do not intend to fund through loans or grants, but to try and use prudent ways of mobilizing resources internally to fund those programs. So in terms of specifics, we had the road projects where we're using Sino-Hydro funds. There are other projects that we are using government funds, like the Agenda 111 hospitals. When it comes to the district hospital, they are all GOG funded, meaning we are taking money from what we have mobilized internally to fund those projects.
Okay, so the digitalization agenda significantly is hinged on the youth, and these are the same people that you are trying to provide interventions to create employment, and that they are the same people who are going to be using these digital platforms. That this e-levy is going to be imposed. Is this not going to be clawing back on some of the little gains that you will be making by creating these opportunities with this e-levy?
As mentioned earlier, I told you that about 3/4 of our population is under 35. If the plan is that don't tax majority of Ghanaians, then it will be difficult to tell how we are going to mobilize revenue to fund all these programs. But what I assure you is that government is not interested in nuisance taxes. It is for that reason that in 2017, about 15 nuisance taxes, including VAT on real estate, VAT on domestic airline ticketing, the Kaya levy, VAT on services, a whole lot of interventions were made. And if tax will permit me, let me mention a few of them to you. 1% special import levy was removed, 17.5% VAT on financial services, 17.5% on selected import medicines not produced in Ghana, 17.5% on domestic airline ticketing, 5% on real estate, and then the 17.5% VAT on trade was cut down to a flat rate of 3%. It should tell you that generally, government is not interested in nuisance taxes. And on the average, we dropped electricity bills cost by an average of about 11%. So when it matters, we would have to find a way to get all of us to mobilize something little for government to develop the country.
Okay.
So we talk about widening the tax net, It also means the youth will be caught up in the tax net, but it will be as reasonable as possible so that we can all contribute something to build.
Let's wrap up the conversation. We've already exceeded our time. I'm sure we would have to reconvene to have this conversation again. Your last comment, and someone like Daniel Makshan Brown sent a comment through Facebook, and he says, "I'm a young man and I would be trained to be a forklift driver, but I have no help. So sad to myself sometimes. I sit alone." And there's someone who is seeking this kind of training. Is there any intervention that captures someone like Daniel Brown?
Yes, there's a lot that we are doing. We train people in different fields. As I mentioned earlier on, we didn't go deep into the budget. If we would have gone deep into the budget, we would have, mentioned a lot of youth programs in the budget for 2022 and beyond. So such people can come to our office at any time they want to. Tell us this what you want to do. We have business advisory services, people who are there to advise you. You can even bring a business plan. We told them, no, this one, you have to fine tune it. You have to do this. You have to do this before it will work. So we have a pool of knowledge, a pool of ideas at our place. Anytime you can walk in. We've been doing this since 2017, and as I mentioned earlier, it's a plan just to build you from the beginning to an SME level, and for other agencies to take over from there. So at NEIP, we have a lot. We have a program with the World Bank known as the GET program. That's the Ghana Economic Transformation Program, which World Bank is giving us like 100 million Ghana cedis to support these entrepreneurs.
Every year?
Yes, every year. We have a program with the World University of Canada, who are also supporting youth, females in skill areas, non-traditional skill areas. We have a program with the Ministry of Finance where they are supporting people into skills jobs through the faith-based organizations. We did about 50,000 before December last year, and we are hoping to do more this year. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of funding, a lot of training going on. Since this government came to power in 2017, if you look at our plan from the Student Entrepreneurship Initiative to the funding and other things, it's like we are planning to build an entrepreneurial system, a strong entrepreneur ecosystem that can produce a lot of entrepreneurs for this country, so that we don't rely on employment, but we should think of training ourselves, establish businesses to employ others. And this is the vision of the president since 2017, and we are on course. As I speak with you, we supported 19,000 entrepreneurs with funding from 2018 coming, and we train over 50,000 entrepreneurs across the 16 regions of this country. When you apply for our program, training is compulsory. Even if you are a billion people who applied, we are not up to billion though, a billion people who apply for our training, all of them are qualified for training. Then after that, some will be taken out for funding. So there's a lot of programs. We didn't mention the Obatampa Care program. That's where the YouStart, the funding is coming from. We didn't mention the youth in agriculture, where they are also accessing the same fund from the Obatampa Care. After the COVID, government established this Obatampa Care program to finance youth-owned businesses, to finance businesses so that they can stand on your own, especially those who were hit by the COVID. These people can walk into our office at any time, ask for any of our services. We are ready and we are there to support you. So when you go into the Obatampa Care, that's where government has allocated 100 million Ghana cedis to NEIP and to build the entrepreneur ecosystem. Before you talk about funding an entrepreneur, you need to build the ecosystem to make them strong, or else any little turbulence they will fail. And that is government money and other money going down the drain. And now with the YouStart, government is also, bringing on board banks that are already into SME development. A lot of things are being done in the ecosystem, but are scattered. That's why government have this YouStart. First, it was supposed to be the U-Bank, now YouStart. So government is raking in funds from the banks who are already into SME, raking funds from the World Bank GET program and other donor agencies who are in to develop the entrepreneur ecosystem. Bring them together, get the YouStart to be on board, and very soon every youth can be supported.
Okay, so I'll take that as your final comment. I think we may have to bring this conversation up again. But Fatima, your final comments in just a matter of 30 seconds, so we wrap up.
Final words are that, by the time the 1 billion will be dispersed under YouStart, we are projecting that some 1 million young people of this country will get jobs. Yeah. That will be very, very, very significant looking at our current population of some estimated 31 million. It also means that there will be drop in terms of youth, the rate of youth unemployment in the country will further drop. So that the next time they conduct any research in that regard, our percentages will be in single digits or will look better than now. So I encourage the young people to be hopeful, use their resources in terms of phones and social media to go on some of the platforms and institutions that we've mentioned, to go into what they have available and then go ahead to engage them and find something to do. So I want them to be resourceful and also go ahead to be curious and check what is available at NIP, what is available at GEA, and not only use it for just social engagement.
Okay. Thank you so much for making time to join. Yes.
Yes, and I just want to make an appeal through my sister here.
Yes.
In case you meet the president, you inform him. We still don't have our CEO, so it's making our work very, very difficult for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So any EIP should have a substantive CEO appointed. That point has been made very clear. And that's the show. Candid Voice it is. Today we've been looking at the Agenkwa budget. That's the 2020 budget and economic policy. And we've been asking what salvation is in it for the youth. And joining us to have this conversation has been the Deputy Minister for Information, Fatimatu Abubakar, and also the Director of Communication and also ICT at the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program. That's Joseph Osei Opong Brenya. My name is Benjamin Ofeadu, your regular host. And thank you so much for joining us. Have a good night. Stay with us, ASU Radio. We are the voice of our land.